Hello, my name is Abhinav Trivedi. Namaskar, good evening. You're watching Live Mint. Today, as we speak about an element which is a part of our everyday corporate and personal life, but its security, ladies and gentlemen, is taken for granted. Worse, in India, especially, people are quite unaware about it. We are talking about cyber security, data protection. We use our internet and computer daily, but nobody thinks about security. As India becomes more and more digitalized and more Indians come online every minute, the amount of cyber attacks have increased exponentially in this country. Corporations are a major target. A team of researchers from Checkpoint Research indicated how Indian healthcare sector, the companies in this sector suffered almost 2 million cyber attacks in 2022. Most of these attacks were sourced from Vietnam, Pakistan, and China. In fact, as we speak, global volume of cyber attacks reached 1168 attacks per organization per week. In 2022 and first half of 2023, India suffered maximum cyber attacks on government agencies and websites of ministries. India, US, Indonesia, and China accounted for 45% of total cyber attacks on government agencies worldwide. In the second half of 2022, according to a report by cybersecurity firm CloudSec, the number of attacks on government agencies were up by 95% year on year. Let's start from 2019. Remember SBI data breach, then Just Dial, then healthcare records. 2020 was the year of COVID, Unacademy data leak, Big Basket. In 2021, Just Pay got hacked, which was the bridge transactor for Amazon, Swiggy, and Make My Trip. Then COVID-19 test results were leaked. Police exam applications, they were leaked. Upshots, Domino's, Air India. In 2022, cyber attack on major power grids of India, 7 of them. This also included Tata Power. All India Institute of Medical Science. Let's talk about 2023, ladies and gentlemen. In June this year, there were reports of COVID data breach where data of millions of Indians, including high-profile politicians, was leaked. In fact, a survey conducted by Cybr Ark found that 91% of Indian organizations it surveyed reported some form of cyber attack in the past few months. Where are we headed? And what's happening to our security? We have with us Dr. Pavan Duggal, who is an advocate at Supreme Court. He's also a cyber law expert. Dr. Duggal, स्वागत है आपका live mint पे.
Thank
I
you.
would like to first, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. My first question to you is, I threw some numbers in front of you, some volumes. Where do you see these numbers as we sit and speak today? And what has been your experience as far as volume of cyber attacks, especially on corporations, is concerned?
The position vis-a-vis attacks on corporations is really very, very grim. This is so because ransomware has become the de facto mode of attack. Every 11 seconds, one Indian company becomes a victim of a ransomware attack. And these figures are constantly, every 11 seconds, one company. And with these figures are further going to worsen. It's going to be expected that by the end of 2023, every 9 seconds, an Indian company is going to become a victim of a ransomware attack. तो जब चारों ओर हम देख रहे हैं कि आक्रमण हो रहा है, तो सबसे ज्यादा आक्रमण कंपनियों पर इसलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि वहां सबसे ज्यादा डेटा है, वहां सबसे ज्यादा क्षमता है पैसा इकट्ठा करने की. And that's the reason why corporates are increasingly getting targeted for their data, so that the data can be monetized, can be sold on the dark net, and also for a variety of purposes. In fact, we have to understand that now with the period that's come in post-COVID-19, the world has entered into a new era, which we call as the new cyber world order. In this new cyber world order, cyber security breaches will be our daily default normal. Also, cyber crimes are going to increase massively. हमने देखना होगा कि कोविड-19 के बाद साइबर क्राइम की गोल्डन एज शुरू हो चुकी है और ये गोल्डन एज हमारे साथ अब कई दशकों तक रहने वाली है. Hence, companies and the top managements need to be extra careful that they take appropriate steps to protect their data, to protect their confidential assets. Otherwise, they're going to be bleeding all the way. And more significantly, that's going to cause them not just immense commercial loss and financial losses, but more significantly, it could have huge amount of reputational risk and damage that's attached to the same. So I think
Sure.
companies have a lot to lose, and therefore they have to utmost focus on the importance of maintaining and implementing cybersecurity.
But Duggal Saab, my question is why the healthcare sector? I mean, because we are such a data vulnerable nation, we don't have a data protection law in place. We don't have a cyber law in place. Of course, it's a work in progress. But as of now, in July of 2023, why is the healthcare sector the most reached out target?
Well, the healthcare sector is the most reached out target for a variety of reasons. Number one,
Okay.
India is seeing a complete vacuum of cyber policy making. We have in place the Indian Information Technology Act, which is Indian cyber law for the last 23 years, but that's not amended for the last 15 years. Further, there's a policy vacuum in as much as India doesn't have a dedicated cyber security law. India also does not have any dedicated law on data protection, though now the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill 2023 is going to be laid down before the Parliament in the monsoon session. India also doesn't have a privacy law. So when you look at these absence of these primary legislations in the Indian context, India becomes a very fertile target for targeting data. And cyber criminals are very, very calculative guys. They know that they want to target at a place where it's going to give them or get them the maximum kind of
Correct.
return. And today, the maximum returns that you get is on health records. आज आपके
Okay.
फाइनेंशियल रिकॉर्ड्स क्रेडिट कार्ड डिटेल्स उतने ज्यादा महंगे नहीं बिकते जितने आपके हेल्थ रिकॉर्ड्स बिकते हैं. तो इस संदर्भ
Okay.
में हेल्थ को टारगेट करना लाजमी बात है. Hence, because we don't even have a country as a country and legislation like the HIPAA in the US,
Hmm.
there is no particular legislation to protect health related data or electronic medical records. And that's why
Okay.
these records are increasingly being targeted by cyber criminals for being sold in the open market.
But Duggal Saab, corporations, when I talk about corporations, it's of course people, the common people who are working in these organizations. So हम एक ऐसे देश में हैं जहां पे फ्री कॉफी, फ्री चाय और अगले बार फ्री कुछ पाने के चक्कर में हम अपना डेटा बहुत आराम से डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर देते हैं. Considering this scenario, where do you see and by what time do you see the picture changing? Because when I see the grassroots, when the research is being done and the surveys are being conducted amongst the corporates, even the senior managers in the corporates are not very aware of cyber security. I mean, do you think corporations need to impart more training? Because Indian corporations, it seems, as the data suggests, are the most sought after targets.
Indian corporations are the most sought of target for the variety of reasons, primarily because India lacks a legal framework in the country to protect data. Further,
Okay.
there is no specific kind of steep penalties should you be landing up losing corporate data or financial data or health data. Yes, at best it could be only a computer related offense under Section 66 of the Information Technology Act 2000. But there's a problem. That's only a bailable offense. So India
Hmm.
has not given the kind of priority and focus to data as a nation should have been given. On top of it, we have already entered the data economy age where the data is the new oil of the new data economy. तो इस संदर्भ में जहां हम लोग ग्लोबल ऑथर्स बन चुके हैं, ग्लोबल ट्रांसमीटर्स बन चुके हैं और ग्लोबल ब्रॉडकास्टर्स बन चुके हैं डेटा के, एक नया परिवेश हम सबके समक्ष आता है. The reason now
Hmm.
is that because people don't have an intrinsic understanding of data as a valuable commodity, they'll end up sharing all kinds of data for anything which is a freebie. And companies, more significantly, are only concerned by and large about their profits or their day to day operations. They don't give the kind of importance to cybersecurity as it ought to be given. No wonder these companies are being breached left, right, and center. Recently, एक कंपनी ने अपने मुलाजिमों को बोला कि साहब हमें अब कंपनी का एक नया प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च करना है और इसलिए उसके आप बिजनेस प्लान बनाइए, ये प्रोडक्ट की डिटेल्स हैं. कंपनी की जो सेल्स टीम थी वो चैट जीपीटी पे गई, उसने वो सारे नए प्रोडक्ट के सारे डिटेल्स डाले, कंपनी के डिटेल्स डाले और एक बिजनेस प्लान जनरेट कर लिया. वो भूल गए कि once they have actually given this information to chat gpt, it could prejudicially impact not just intellectual property rights but even the
Definitely.
confidentiality of corporate data. So I think the concept of recognizing data as a valuable commodity is still relatively missing in the Indian context. And that's the reason why it's not being given that kind of a premium by Indian companies as it should be given.
Yes, yes, Duggal sir, please continue.
So, all I'm trying to say is that we will now increasingly have to have a change of our mindset. We will have to start giving far more respect to data because in the coming times, it is going to be our data which is going to be far more valuable than money. And if you are going to be losing your data, or if you are sharing it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, then you will find that your current and potential business prospects and also your potential digital present and future could be prejudicially impacted. To give an
Because I'm
example,
glad you brought profits into the conversation. Now, not only corporations, because of the lack of a effective cybersecurity law, corporations also fudge data. I mean, they extract data of ordinary citizens like anything, and they violate privacy laws almost every hour. So, in a way, this is also, I mean, some sections or some internet activists might say that it's the right karma which is affecting them back, but that's not the point. The point is that major cyber attacks, majority of them, almost 95% of them, go underreported. Do you think the first things which a lot of corporates can acknowledge is going out in the open and accepting that we have been cyber attacked, cyber bullied, or there has been some demand of ransomware? At least that is how we can start coming on a formal platform and expressing that yes, we have been hacked, the data has been leaked, there has been a data breach. Because whenever companies hide, eventually it results in more data breaches.
see, the problem in majority of Indian companies is that they want to put everything under the carpet. And therefore they don't want to report. Underreporting is the norm of the day as far as corporates in India is concerned. This is despite the fact that as on 28th of June 2022, the government of India has implemented the Information Technology Directions 2022, which mandate every company in India to report every cybersecurity breach or a cybersecurity incident, whether real or suspected, to the Indian Nodal Agency on Cybersecurity, being the Computer Emergency Response Team of India, within
Okay.
6 hours of coming to know about it. Now, if you don't report within 6 hours, it actually becomes an offense under Section 70B7 of the IT Act,
Okay.
punishable with 1 year's imprisonment and fine. Now, despite it actually being declared as an offense, most of the companies choose not to report. Somehow they get this feeling that let's subscribe to the Indian Jugaad school of management. We will manage it when it comes, and therefore let's not report it because reporting could potentially be prejudicially impacting your reputation, your goodwill, your standing, your perception as not a
So
secure
it's the
company.
grand old jugaad, which is still the go-to solution for most of the Indian corporates. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. It is a great Indian Jugaad school of management that continues to inspire large number of Indian corporates without realizing that that's not a very, very good approach to follow. Why? Because when you do Jugaad, you will ultimately land up tampering with electronic records. And therefore, you will be committing electronic forgery for cheating
Hmm.
purposes. That becomes a heinous offense under Section 468 of the Indian Penal Code, punishable with
Okay.
7 years imprisonment and fine. So rather than just going in and reporting it, these companies are complicating their own lives because first they don't report, they commit crimes under the IT Act. Further, to avoid getting facing the particular prosecution of those crimes, they further go ahead and engage in electronic forgery, which becomes a bigger crime under the the Indian Penal Code. So by and large, I think it's a wrong spiral that they have got onto. The mindset needs
Sure.
to change. The time has come where owning the fact that you have been breached does not impact your reputation, goodwill, or standing. Why? Because everybody today can be a potential victim of cybercrime or cybersecurity breach, primarily because cybersecurity is not an absolute concept. What was cyber secure yesterday is not cyber secure today, and what is cyber secure today will definitely not be cyber secure tomorrow. So we have to understand this constantly changing paradigm, and the fact that we are actually sitting on a running tiger, and the only way we can go ahead and balance our interests is trying to control the tiger. So the more effectively as a company you control your security of your devices, of your networks, of your data, the much better position you are, not only in terms of doing business, also in terms of protecting and preserving your reputation, goodwill, and standing.
Sure. Now, Dr. Duggal, when we talk about regulations, you know, I mean, what are the lobbying efforts going on right now? I mean, we are a country with the least ARPUs. I mean, average revenue per user when it comes to internet bills. We have the cheapest internet in the world, amongst the cheapest internet in the world. So corporations are also taking advantage of the fact that there is no legal framework when they are, collecting data. So do you think it's high time we have an effective cyber law, an effective data protection law? And when I'm saying we should have it soon, the time has already gone by. I mean, we should have had it yesterday. Do you think it's high time that a country like India with 1.4 billion population and majority of them under the age of 35, we should have a very strong not only cyber law but also data protection law, which also covers the corporates and protects the corporates?
There is no denying the fact that India is late to the party. Why? Because it does not have in place the appropriate legal parameters, either in terms of a dedicated cyber security law or a data protection law or a privacy law. However, that's not a reason to lose heart.
Okay.
That's not a reason to lose heart, primarily so because we are in the technology age, and technology allows us to leapfrog. Now,
Hmm.
artificial intelligence has taken the entire world, including India, by storm. And most of the Indians are experimenting on some kinds of generative artificial intelligence. But the fact remains is that till such time we don't have effective, stringent legal frameworks to promote cybersecurity, whether in cyber ecosystem or in the artificial intelligence ecosystem, there's not going to be much proactive compliance. India,
Okay.
unfortunately, is living in an ecosystem where companies only act once there are penal consequences. If they think that
Hmm.
there are no penal consequences, the chances of them not acting is relatively very, very high. So, the quicker I think we are able to come up with very strong legal frameworks for protecting and preserving cybersecurity, the better it is. India can actually learn from the experiences of countries like China, like Vietnam, like Singapore, and come up with an own customized legal framework on cybersecurity. This is so because while we had actually defined the concept of cybersecurity legally under the IT Amendment Act of 2008, we only came up with only cosmetic provisions on cybersecurity. We didn't
Okay.
come up with meaty provisions. The time has really come that you must do it now. Otherwise, the Indian corporates are going to bleed as compared to their competition in the global ecosystem, and ultimately that may not be good for the nation as a whole.
But Dr. Duggal, as far as till the time there are no regulations in place, what can corporations do? What can they teach their managers? What can they upper management, middle management, and the lower management people do to protect that data? What is it that you would recommend corporates at this stage? Till the time there is no legal framework happening.
I would recommend corporates to kindly open their eyes and realize one basic fact. Realize one basic fact, which is that they are all intermediaries under the Information Technology Act 2000. Today, when a corporation is dealing with electronic data or deals with use of computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, or communication devices, it automatically becomes an intermediary under Section 21W of the Information Technology Act 2000. Once these corporations Once these corporations are intermediaries, they are required to exercise due diligence while discharging their obligations under law under Section 79 of the IT Act. The Government
Hmm.
of India has already notified the Information Technology, Reasonable Security Practices and Procedures, and Sensitive Personal Data or Information Rules 2011, and also the IT Rules 2021. When one looks at both these rules, one finds that all corporates qualify as intermediaries. Once they are intermediaries, they are duty bound to implement and maintain reasonable security practices and procedures. And the IT Rules 2011 says that if you follow an ISO 27001, that's one example of reasonable security practices and procedures. So the first learning for corporates is to
Sure.
legally recognize the fact that they are an intermediary. Number two, to implement and maintain reasonable security practices and procedures, being ISO 27001. And number three, please comply with the IT Directions 2022, which mandate you to do a number of compliances and also report any cybersecurity breach or an incident within 6 hours of coming to know of the same. Now, these are three immediate steps that I want you to do as a company. Apart from that, it will be a great idea if you as a company also do documented due diligence in your capacity as an intermediary and comply with the relevant parameters under the Information Technology Act 2000 and under the Indian in IT Rules 2021. The reason for this is that you have to be now prepared. The new Digital Personal Data Protection Bill 2023 is already listed for discussion before the Indian Parliament in the monsoon session of 2023. Now, if that happens, then should that law be passed, you as a company need to tighten your belts. Why? Because if you are seen to be contravening that particular law, you can actually be fined up to from 250 crore rupees to 500 crore rupees per contravention. Now, that's a huge fine that India has still not heard of. And if these fines are going to be implemented, a large
It's
number
going to
of
be a
practical day-to-day operations of companies could be impacted. A lot of companies can be
sure.
wiped out. So, better thing is to focus on compliance rather than adventurism.
Focus on compliance. Like if you pray for the rains, be prepared to handle the mud as well. That could be the lesson. Dr. Duggal, thank you so much for speaking to Live Mint. And we hope that the two legal frameworks, which are highly anticipated, get passed, and some at least we move in a certain direction in at least one of them. Thank you so much, Dr. Duggal, for joining us at Live Mint. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.